Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Girl Camper podcast, where we believe there is no wrong way to camp like a girl. I'm your co-host, Lesa McDermott, and today we're diving into a topic so many of you have asked about, and that is camping with pets. Whether you're road tripping with your dog, hiking with your cat, or bringing along another furry friend, we have got you covered. Today, I'm joined with Dawn Polk, our pet expert from the Girl Camper magazine, and she is going to share her best tips on gear, safety, pet health on the road, and campground etiquette. Let's get started.
If your travel trailer is uninsured, you could run into issues down the road. Protect your RV with Progressive. Quote online in as little as 4 minutes.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to the Go Camper podcast. And thank you to today's show sponsor. We sure appreciate you guys. Dawn, I am so excited to have you on. Welcome to the podcast of Girl Camper.
Hi, Lesa. Thank you. It's great to be here.
We not only know Dawn from being our pet expert for the Girl Camper magazine, but she and her husband, Mark Polk, are also I don't know, what do we say? The owners, the creators,
Founders,
the what?
maybe?
The night bears. Wait. The founders and the experts behind RV Education 101. Did I say that right?
Yes.
I did. So great resource if you ever have any questions about maintenance or tech tips or anything to do with your RV. Check out RV 101. They are a fabulous resource. But today we are talking about traveling with pets, something I do all the time. I have tons of fur babies, as you guys probably know, a couple dogs, 3 cats. I don't usually travel with all of them, but when I do go out in one of my small teardrops, I probably will have either a dog or a cat with me. So I'm excited to have Dawn on the show today.
Thank
So
you.
let's dive in a little bit. Dawn, first off, I did say you are our pet expert for the Girl Camper magazine, but how did that come about? How did you become our go-to pet person?
Well, I've been a pet advocate probably for my whole life. I've always had just an affinity towards the voiceless. I mean, somebody has to speak up for them. So I have done a lot of things like protesting for the elephants to save them so they aren't abused in the circus. And then it led to working with a local rescue group. And we do the spay and neuter for low income people. And we do 40 to, 30, 40, 50 spay and neuters for the cats and dogs. And I would help with the surgeon and I would bend his ear when we were doing the surgeries and talk to him about all kinds of things. And I like to research. So I just learned a lot about the animal world.
Oh, fabulous. I love that. The spay and neutering, especially of stray cats and dogs, is so, so important. But, all 3 of our cats that we have were from, basically the barn cats of population out there where someone has, oh, I have barn cats. Okay, maybe still, do you need like 40 of them that are all still having kittens? And
They reproduce so quickly and
they
they get out of
do.
control fast.
Yeah, they do. And yeah, so we have
Not
3.
only that, but it's healthier for them if you get them spayed and neutered too.
Exactly. So, yeah. So why do you think so many campers, like myself, love bringing their pets along with them? What makes pets such great traveling companions?
Well, I think that's why RVs are such a handy thing because we can take our pets with us. They're creatures of habit. So they like to be part of the family and they like their routine. And we like the companionship with them and they're family members. So we stress out when we have to kennel them or they're away from us. I know every time I leave the house, Mark's like, are we going to say goodbye to Bailey? Are we going to give her a treat, just to come back for just shopping? I mean, just something quick like that. So they're just good, friendly companions to have with us.
They really are. I love being able to take my dogs in the car because they have such joy in the car ride. I actually even have a cat. My little cat Zenny, he jumps in the car often and we'll go for car rides. So it's kind of cute. And they do. They're just such great companions. And they're never mad at us.
And exactly. And they wait for us to come home. And then going out for exercise, they kind of force us, the dogs, to walk them and things like that. So that's a plus.
They do. The unconditional love that they give us is just, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about camping gear for pets and stuff. When it comes to gear for pets, what are your must-have items?
Well, there's just certain things, of course, it's common sense, food and water and things that they're used to from home, so you don't change their digestive system. But there's something that's kind of neat. This is like a little glow in the dark necklace.
Mhm.
And you can get these on Amazon or just any pet store. Just do a search, and there's rechargeable batteries. That's really good for at night because when you're walking, you just don't think about it. Sometimes the leash is a little bit longer and cars come or things happen and you just need to be able to see them even though they're on the leash. Um, there's something called Adaptal, which this is really handy. It comes for dogs or cats. And you put a bandana around their neck and you spray the bandana. And this kind of, if your pet is anxious about traveling or anything, this helps to calm them down. It's like kind of like the pheromone that the mother gives, just a calming scent. So this is something that's good because even if a pet is calm, when they get out of their environment, sometimes they get anxious. So that's just something to good to have on hand. And then this is our go-to. So this is like a water bottle that opens up. Let's see if I can keep it. And it has a trough. So you push this button and it makes like a water fountain so that the dog will more likely than drink. Sometimes if you put a bowl of water down, they won't just readily drink. But if you do this and press the water, it's amazing how much they will drink from this. And then you can always push the button and the water goes back in the system.
Oh,
And
great.
then it has like a little thing. I'm going to spill it all over probably. A little thing for treats. There's little treats in there that you can carry with you. So when you're hiking or just in the car, whenever we've gotten back in from a rest stop, you can just carry this with it and it's just handy. So
Mm.
those are some of my really favorite items.
I agree with you on those. We have the rechargeable lighted up collars for all of our dogs, and those are so handy to exactly see where they are at night. Especially if they, on our property, we live on 10 acres, so we let them out at night and to go to the bathroom, and it's nice to be able to see when they're still standing 20 feet away and refusing to come inside.
Absolutely. I was walking my friend's dog. I was in charge and he's off leash trained around our neighborhood too. He forgot the collar. And I'm like, hey, you bet. Found it and put it back on. But
Yeah, yeah. And then for water bowls, we have what I travel with is the spill-proof ones. So I just have one of those in the back of my SUV that they can go use. And I guess I have that in my RVs too, because RVs are small, but they literally are spill-proof. They're a booger to try to get the lid off if you ever want to clean the bowl.
yeah,
But that's the
exactly.
whole point of
And
them.
some of them are collapsible too. So it's easy to take with you and like on a walk and pop it up and then fill it with water.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny when you talk about water. My ex-husband had race horses, and one of the things that they would do with the horses, because the old saying, "You lead a horse to water, you can't make him drink." Well, obviously, you've got an athlete; you need them to drink. What the deal was is that the water smelled different, it tasted different. So they would trying to think what it was. They put a flavoring in the water each time so that the water always tasted the same to them. And I always wondered about doing that for, dogs and cats. If that,
Well, I try to get one of those, they have 5-gallon collapsible jugs that you can
Mm.
fill with water from home. Of course, depending on how long you're gone, that may not always be the best. Maybe the bottled water or filtration system helps with that too.
Mhm.
Get like the chlorine, because I know our dogs sometimes the chlorine is a a bad.
Really strong. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the
Vanilla.
other thing that's handy is like a tray that you can put underneath the dish because the water or the kibble will fall out. So they make the little pet trays to keep the area cleaner.
That's true. That's true. It was vanilla. Vanilla they put in the water for the horses.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's her.
Dang.
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, what are some of your favorite brands or type of, I guess we talked a little bit of the type, but type of pet-friendly products that you personally recommend? Like, any beds, any carriers? We talked about collapsible water bowls, anything like that at all?
Well, I don't have any specific brands because just when I like a brand and I recommend it to everybody, it either goes out of business or they stop making it or you can't find it. So I really don't get into naming specific brands. The one thing that I do know that's a brand is the Furbo. And that's something, so like if you're not in the RV with them, you can monitor from your phone, you can throw them a treat, you can talk to them. So that's something, of course, you have to have the Wi-Fi and all of that, but that's one brand of something that's kind of cool.
And those, we have a Furbo, and not only are they great to monitor your pet, but see, what your husband might be doing.
That's big. It's like, hello?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you can't talk to him. I forgot about that. Yeah, you can talk to him.
Sometimes the dogs kind of freak out though, because you're talking to them and they're like, "Well, how are you? Are you in there?" So, but yeah, definitely the pet beds, um, things like the familiarity of home, taking something that will help with their travel anxiety and keep them used to what they're used to at home because there are habits of creatures of habit. Blankets. My dog, I like when we go because we keep her outside sometimes. So they have the raised pet beds that are kind of like the hammock and they
Yeah.
have like a little side that goes up. She likes to put her head like a pillow. So always, she's like a human. So we take that outside so she's not laying on the ground. Of course, we keep her tethered or bring a little portable fence along. RVers are so clever when they do their containment systems outside because you should really never leave the pets unattended or free roaming like in a campground type setting. So that's just for everybody's safety and it is like rules of the campground.
Yeah, speaking of campgrounds, are there certain types of campgrounds or campsites that are more pet friendly than others? And, what should campers look for when they're booking a site with their pets in mind?
Well, first of all, before you make the reservation, you do need to do it in advance if possible. Even if you're on the road, call ahead. Not all campgrounds are pet friendly. Nowadays, we do have more and more. We do see that, but there are still a few out there that don't. And for insurance reasons, some of them for breed specific um, won't allow certain breeds. And so make sure that you get that before you get there. Ask if there is any breed, if you have, like, we have pit bulls and boxers. And so you always have to ask. Now, there was one time in Colorado that they said, well, we will see when you get here. And she was very friendly. And I'm like, so we're going to have to leave if she like lunges or something. But yes, but she didn't. And she normally doesn't do that. So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I try to look for, dog parks, and I know dog parks can be controversial because, if you can take your dog there when no other dogs are there,
Right.
it's always good. If you hear vets say, "Well, what's the repeat business?" or one place they'd never take their own pet is a dog park because the susceptibility of being attacked by another dog is,
Yes.
which is sad. But
Because
yeah,
we all think our animals are friendly. And even if we know them very well, you never know what demeanor any other dog is going to provoke in your own dog.
exactly. Yep, yep. But
But
I
most
do,
campgrounds do have the dog parks in the campground. And then there's so many dog parks outside of the campground too. So usually that's just not really, um, I know we've always found them.
yeah, yep. I try to find them, and then I always love to stop at Lowe's, the travel stops,
Yes.
because they almost all of them have a dog park there, so that is so convenient when traveling on the road to be able to stop, let my dog out off leash and run around a little bit, do their business, and
Yes.
just have a little bit of freedom. So I appreciate that opportunity on the road from Love's Truck Stops.
Cabela's always has some nice setups too, and they have like those nice big dog kennels. I don't know if all of them do, but several of them. So if you want to go shopping, you put your dog in the outside kennel and with a padlock, and it's that's pretty handy too. Now it's been a while since I've seen them, so I don't know how current that is.
I did not know that. We have a lot of Cabela's out here. I'll just, I'm going to be checking that out to
Check
see
it
if,
out and see. Now, if
yeah,
they've changed the policy, sorry.
that is cool though. What are some key safety tips when camping with your pets, especially in unfamiliar environments like forests, deserts, beaches, anything like that, that you would?
Well, again, it's doing your research. So, like, as far as like beaches, not all beaches allow dogs, and some of them are seasonal if they do. Um, Before we leave on a trip, first of all, I talk to our veterinarian and tell them we're going to a specific area and are there certain things that we need to be aware of because if we're going to, I'm just saying like Texas or something and they have a flu outbreak, a lot of times the veterinarians will know that and they can give your dog like some extra vaccine. If you're going somewhere like a desert where there's lots of rattlesnakes, you want to make sure that they have antivenom or what do you need to do. So before we leave, I talk to our vet, get a health check. And then when we get to where we're going, I find a local veterinarian, call them, and they're so helpful and just give you, is there blue-green algae, outbreak somewhere? Because you never want your dog to get in the water with that. So those are just some concerns. And
Those
just
are great.
always keeping them on restraint, keeping your animal, unless you really know the area for off leash and things, you just really have to research everything.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And I think, if you're going somewhere for an extended period of time, like say you're going to do a work camp job, you mentioned the rattlesnakes. I mean, I live here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. We have, rattlesnakes are very common. So for our animals, they get rattlesnake vaccinations for,
Yes.
so something to consider if you're going to be somewhere at an extended period of time for sure.
And
Yeah.
our vet just stopped carrying. They have to get them in quite a quantity. And we have more copperheads than we have rattlesnakes. We do have rattlesnakes, but you just want to make sure, like, if our vet doesn't have it, you want to find a vet that does have it in case there is that bite.
Good point. Good point. And probably being aware, again, if you're going to be somewhere for an extended period of time, of where is the emergency vet hospital?
Mm-hmm.
We only have one in the area. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
there's that one.
Ours is quite a drive, so it's just good to know.
Now, do you carry like a first aid kit just for your animals at all? Oh, yes.
My human first aid kit and my pet. So one thing that I really recommend, it's called Sovereign Silver, colloidal silver, 10 ppm, very important. I get the big jug and so that we can refill, but I carried the small one. It comes in a spray. So what this is good for is a lot of times dogs have issues with their paws. They may get yeast or they may get a cut or they're licking and there's just irritation. The colloidal silver you can spray. If they freak out with the spray, you can pour some on a cotton ball and just squeeze it into their paws and get it, absorbed. If they lick it, it's fine. You can put it in their drinking water. If they just aren't feeling well, talk to your veterinarian about it or just do a search with colloidal silver and pets. I wouldn't leave home I carry it in my purse. And you wouldn't believe how many humans and animals I've used it on. If they get little cuts, if they get like a tick bite. So you need to make sure, like, even like tick tweezers, because you have to be very careful when pulling ticks out. When you go to different areas, you just never know what the tick population is. And then you spray the colloidal silver. Another thing I love is Zymox, and they have two different kinds with hydrocortisone and without. But when dogs are going swimming and their ears are getting wet and causing problems, you just put some drops of this, you put it in their ear canal, pull it up, massage it in, and then they'll shake, 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 but it's fine. and you can use this like every week. You can talk to your vet about it. But for dogs that are prone to ear infections, especially the ones with the ears that come over, if you just don't put any ear cleaner in and only use this will change your dog's life. So the Zymox Otic is really important. Um, and then just bandages and just common sense things that you would carry, like for humans and things like that. One other thing is I forgot to get my prop here, but they have that bandage, that self-adhering,
Oh,
like an ACE bandage, but it's
oh,
a rubber type thing,
vet wrap,
like a vet wrap. Yeah,
horse wrap. Yeah.
exactly. That I buy rolls and rolls of that because
Yep.
if they have a small scratch and you don't want them licking it, you just wrap it up and it's really amazing. They really can't tear it off. Or if they like booties are super important. We're probably going to be talking about that. Like other things you should have with you. Paw, protecting their paws. So like when you're walking on the asphalt, people don't realize how hot it is. Take your shoes off and stand on it yourself. And
Yeah.
people think that the dog's paws are very resilient, but they burn just like our feet do. So if it's hot
Yeah.
out, don't walk them out there or wear the booties. Keep them
Yeah.
off the pavement, on the ground. But you could get just little socks with that wrap and wrap it around if it's too hot, something like that, if you never got the booties. So that's just kind of like a quick fix
That's a good idea. And that vet wrap is great to have just in your own human first aid kit.
for humans too.
So versatile. The other thing too, you talk about the paws and heat on the asphalt, but sandburrs are,
Sandburrs.
oh,
Yes.
and something that's good on to help remove those when they get stuck into a dog's coat is coconut oil.
Oh, yes. Coconut oil.
Yeah,
I've
because
heard
you
it.
can lick it and it's not harmful to them.
Yes. Oh, and it has kind of the smooth, the oil part to it.
Yeah, the oil parts. We have a long hair cat and we'll use that when he gets, like this time of year when it's starting to get rid of his winter coat, moving into the summer coat, and he'll start getting the big mats that are hard to get out. So we'll just rub some coconut oil in that, and that helps loosen them up.
Helps
And
with fur balls and it's good for humans too. Just put a little drop in your coffee. It's
I heard that.
wonderful. I do that. I'll have to try it on my pets.
Yeah. Is there anything that a camper can do to help, their pet the first time that they might be sleeping in a tent or a camper or an unfamiliar environment? Any tips for easing the anxiety and creating a better comfort zone for them?
Well, what we did with Bailey when we first got her, she's an old English bulldog and she is just scared of everything. And so we had the RV in the park in the driveway and had her stay at home there first just to see, walk her home, walk her back into the house and back into the RV, or just set up the tent in your backyard so that they get used to this new living space. And then having something that's familiar from home, your t-shirt, your blanket, their toys, they're creatures of habit. So things that they're used to at home, just bring with you in the camper or the tent. And then just take them on short drives so that you don't want to take for the first time on a 10-hour, cross country trip. You want to do something just like maybe around the block to get them used to it. And I would always kennel them because you just don't want to lose the animal. You never know what's going to happen. So we always kennel them while traveling.
Well, along that line, make sure they're chipped.
And microchip. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to tell you about too. So microchips, they are very important, but you really need to keep on top of it and check it to make sure because companies do go out of business. And, you need to make sure that that chip is staying current, keeping it registered. The other thing is an embroidered collar. So we had Bailey's name embroidered on it with our cell phone number. The tags are good, but they can tend to get caught on things. If you put they usually want you to have your rabies tag at least with you, not necessarily on the collar, but with you for the pet. But if they get loose in a campground, you're not always going to have access to finding those scanners. So if they have the collar that has their name and number on it, you're more likely to be reunited. And that has happened So
Mhm.
now I know.
Personal experience there.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the advice about taking, your pet for a little car ride to get them used to it. That's so important, especially if you want to travel with a cat. I think dogs are a little more, yay, car ride. I know our little Zoe, who's a little mini golden doodle. My biggest fear is that someday she will disappear because someone will show up and she'll be like, "Hi, do you have a car? You want to show it to me?"
Oh,
And I'll show
yeah.
her. But cats are a little more weary on car rides, and I think if you can expose them early on in their life and be taking them for car rides more than just going to the vet.
Yes, that's right. We had 2 cats, and, one loved it and the other hated it, but we kept them in the kennel. And this Adaptil for the cats, this is really helpful for the cats because it really calms them down. And if they really are just freaking out until you get used to it, talk to your veterinarian, and they have some suggestions too, if you want
Yeah.
a medicine.
Yeah. Now, our cat, one of them is completely different on the kennel aspects. He hates the kennel, hates it. So that causes him more stress. And so we do let him out. We do let our cats run loose, but we usually are in a big truck or an SUV. And so they've got the room and we don't let him bother us. But yeah, he taught me very early that no to the kennel when he, again, long hair, decided to not only throw up all over himself, but also poop all over himself
Yes,
at the
yes.
same time in the kennel, and that was not fun.
No, yeah, I can see that would be and they like little cubby holes too, so if you find a little place in the back seat with their bedding and make like a little cave that they can crawl down into, most
Yeah.
likely they will stay there.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, they love that, so, yeah. Let's talk about how do we keep our pets safe from things like heat and cold and, we talked a little bit about snakes and stuff, but other wildlife encounters while camping.
Well, and dogs, one thing to note is when they reach the point of you seeing that they have heat exhaustion, a lot of times that's too far. It's really hard to get them to come back. So you always need to have the water. When they're running, a lot of times they use more energy when you're out camping. So maybe some more treats and extra food for the calories. Keeping them in the shade. Don't let them go full blast because they will do it until you make them stop. So
Yeah.
you have to be the one that makes them stop, and then take them maybe back in for a break. When you're in the RV and if you're going to be gone all day, and if it's hot in the summer, even though you have your air conditioning on, you can lose power. Uh, they do make different monitoring systems. I'm not going to recommend one because they're all different. You need to do your own research. Some are Wi-Fi, some are phone apps. They have a lot of choices out there. But if you're going to be gone all day, we really recommend finding like a day pet sitter or a kennel that you can keep them in. We've done that before, and then you just go pick them up. You can enjoy your trip. You're not worrying about your dog or your cat being, you know, if the power goes out. Same thing with the heat. Now in the winter, it's not such a bad thing because you can put extra blankets and they can kind of get in and stay warm. But the summer is really a tough thing. You really need to think about that.
Right. I love the idea about trying to find like a pet sitter and stuff. A lot of times campgrounds will have some people that they can recommend as pet sitters, or there's apps like, is it Fido
I
Fido? And
I know what you're talking about. There is an app.
yeah,
And then they'll have the local people around, and sometimes they'll come to your camper, which might be a good thing, or they'll take them with them. Um, but it just
right.
depends. You really have to trust that person.
You do. And again, now it just brought to mind, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, that picture from like 3, 4 years ago where they left the dog alone in the camper and it scratched its way through the door. Yeah. I'll,
Well,
I'll put a
I
picture of
don't know
that.
if that was real. I mean, it could have been,
It
but
was real. It was
but
real.
was it really?
It was real. I saw the original poster.
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
uh-huh. And yeah.
Well, and dogs do, and that's why when we do leave our animals, we do keep them in a kennel first of all, it keeps them from, we have a pet Mozart CD that we play and very calming music while we're gone. We close all the shades down. We have the fan. And then we actually cover a portion of the kennel because it's like a cave and keeps them more quiet. And because that's another thing for the pet etiquette, you don't want your dog barking while you're gone because they can have you leave the campground. So that's just different things to consider. We always, if we leave for even just a little bit, we'll sit and listen. Okay, okay. Is she quiet? Okay, we could go.
Well, and that leads into my next question. What are some of the unwritten and written rules that campers should follow when they do have their pets with them? I mean,
Well, it's common sense. So all campgrounds that I know of require a leash, and you should really honor that when you're at the campground, because that will hurt it for everybody else if you don't follow the rules. Keeping them on leash, staying off of other people's space. A lot of times people think, oh, I can just cut through here, but that's actually their space. So you really want to respect that. Of course, picking up. It's amazing how many people don't pick up after their animal.
it's so frustrating.
It's very frustrating. And it's just bad for the environment. It's bad for everything. And people who step in it, whatever. So that's like an unwritten rule. The noise.
Yeah, the barking, it's not okay to leave your dog alone and have it just be barking constantly or even with it. Barking.
And the other thing is, even if you do have your animal on leash and you know your animal, never let them run up to another animal that is on a leash or at the campground. Always keep them in your space. And if the both owners agree that they can let the animals meet, then that's fine. But you should always ask permission. Our dog Bailey, we have to almost keep her in a bubble. We have to walk, and I'm always looking. Don't let any dog because she will freak out. So we just have to keep her like, okay, don't come up and pet her,
Yeah.
just keeping that in mind.
Well, and I think not only, do people need to ask for permission, can I pet your dog, but give it a treat too, because some dogs are a very restrictive diet and they may not be able to have that little extra piece of bacon that
Absolutely. Yes. Good point. Yes.
So yeah, these are all really good tips. I also want to clarify because I am a lawyer, words matter. And this is one of my things that I kind of laugh at campgrounds because a friend of mine who owned a campground would violate this rule all the time. The pet is on leash. Leash must be in your hand.
Yes. Yes. Words matter. Yeah.
She'd let her little dog and he was adorable. He was not a problem, but he would be on leash just running around.
Yes. Be in control of that leash.
Yes. And then be mindful if you're in a group of retractable leashes. They can be an issue,
They can be an issue.
Yeah.
Yes. We always keep one that is not retractable when we're walking. Not only can those retractables break, but if they get too far out and a child walks up and they get hung up, you can cause damage. I mean, there's just so many issues with the retractables. Good point.
Yep. Just be mindful of those. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people making when they are camping with pets, and how can people avoid those?
Just things like we're talking about. So a lot of times people will just like if they're sitting out cooking out by the picnic table and, oh, we can just have our dog off leash just because they're in the campsite. That's not a good idea either. They either need to have the containment system with the fence. I've seen a lot of people using what do you call those? The fenceless collars now where you can put down the stakes. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's a little bit of a learning curve with that.
Yeah.
If they're already used to that, and some dogs can break through those.
Right.
They see something and just go through it. So I'm not a fan of those, but people
And
use,
other dogs can still come in.
and other dogs can come in. So I
Yeah.
think that's one thing that people are using that I just don't really agree with.
I agree. When we first camping with our dogs, I had one of those thinking these would be so awesome to use, and quickly realized they were not. They just were not going to work. And mostly it was because they weren't protecting the space from my animals, from other animals coming at them. So
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing is, even if you do have your animal tethered at the campsite, whether it be in a fence or tied to a tie down, never go inside the camper and leave them outside unattended. Just too
Mm,
many things, wild animals, other campers, dogs, too many
good
issues.
point. Very, very good point. So to wrap it all up, what is and we've talked a lot about really great things. So this could be a repeat of things we've already talked about. But what is the one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is wanting to take their pet for the very first time that could help make the experience, smooth and fun and for both them and for their pet?
My main advice is research and knowledge is power. So you've just got to research, talk to other campers, talk to your vet, and know your animal before you go.
Very good. All right, Don, before we wrap up completely, I got a little rapid fire round for you that,
I'm Tara.
I'm going to throw you two options on 10 different questions, and you have to pick one fast. You can't hesitate. You can't think about it. You just got to fire out which one you think. So you ready to play?
Wild. Okay, we'll try it.
Pet camping or camper camping with your pet?
Camper,
Hiking adventure, lazy day or at camp?
lazy day,
Collapsible bowl, regular bowl?
collapsible bowl,
Leash walks around the camp or free play day at a dog park?
leash walks around the camp,
Doggy backpack or pet stroller?
doggy backpack,
Quick weekend trip or a long road trip with your pet?
long road trip,
Swimming in the lake or chasing sticks on the trail?
chasing sticks on the trail,
Pet sleeps in your bed or in their own bed?
in the bed,
Pup cup treats or beef jerky snacks?
oh, that pop, probably the pop. What'd you say?
Pup cups.
Pop cups.
Pup cups. Matching camping gear. Like matching. Do you guys have matching bandanas and chairs, or do you just like to go rugged and solo style with your pet?
Rugged and solo.
Ah,
Mark would never matching anything. He'd be like,
I'm gonna send y'all matching girl camper bandanas and just see.
he will not wear it. The dog. I would match my dog, but Mark would not.
Oh, Dawn, thank you for coming on today. This has been so good, so informational, and we really appreciate all the advice that you have given us for camping with your pets.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been fun.